Hello and welcome to the official WrestleNews 365 YouTube channel. So after last night's Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, the fallout from WWE Super Showdown. Hey, a little bit of a joke, start things off. After the fallout from that show on Thursday, we had the Friday Night SmackDown attempt at recovery, shall we say. So today we're going to talk about John Cena and the Fiend. That match has been officially scheduled and announced for WrestleMania. It had been speculated about for the last few weeks, definitely, and kind of almost was confirmed with the result of Super Showdown on Thursday, but now we know officially that John Cena versus the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, is happening at WrestleMania. So what happened last night? So they'd been announcing this for the last couple of weeks that John Cena would be returning to WWE, specifically Friday Night SmackDown. Last night took place in Boston, Massachusetts. Of course, Massachusetts is Cena's home state. Cena is from West Newbury, Massachusetts, of course. So the crowd absolutely loved him, and I think everyone watching did. You know, it was quite almost surreal because for the longest time, wasn't it? John Cena had the Michael Cole quote polarizing reaction or the mixed reaction, however they used to call it. He used to get booed quite a lot because fans even back in the day don't like being told who to like, and that was the John Cena problem. It's the Roman Reigns problem. It was the Seth Rollins problem. You'd think WWE would find a way around it. They cannot do that. But last night was a bit surreal. The crowd loved John Cena. They were chanting John Cena till the night ended. I don't even think there was a single boo at that point. And my first reaction to this, first apart from smiling, because John Cena for me was my childhood when I was growing up and watching wrestling. I came in during the tail end of the Attitude Era and specifically grew up on the Ruthless Aggression and PG era, which was John Cena. That was him. I used to be one of those people that didn't like him. I found him a bit too much and just, like I said, forced down your throat. But hey, your opinion can change on people, and now that he's gone away, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And at this point, John Cena for me is Hulk Hogan. I remember when I was younger watching WWE, and during that time in the sort of early to mid 2000s, whenever Hulk Hogan would come back after he returned to WWE, and he made his infrequent appearances, whether it was facing Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam or coming out at WrestleMania 21 or all of that sort of stuff, around that period of time, he was just, he when his music would hit, the arena would explode. Now, go back and watch it. They're on the WWE Network. Go back and watch any Hulk Hogan entrance from around 2005. It's madness. It's absolute madness. 2005, 2006, whenever he comes out, it's honestly, the arena shakes. I can't do those pops justice. And that's John Cena now. He's not here all the time. He's the part-time superstar, isn't he? And like I said, you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and absence makes the heart grow fonder, and it certainly does in the case of the WWE Universe, and it certainly does in the case of John Cena. They loved him. I was really pleased to see him back in a WWE ring inside a WWE arena, so I loved it. So he comes out and he cut a great promo as well, and it was one of those ones where it was a typical John Cena promo, but because the crowd was so red hot, they were so happy to see him, it was almost easy. He was playing him like a fiddle at that point. It was a great promo, and he talks about coming to SmackDown, coming back to WWE to make a decision. Now he ensures everyone that he is still a WWE superstar, even though his role has changed. He's not there every single week now. He's a part-time superstar, and he says he's going to do the right thing when it comes to WrestleMania. He says, look, if I say something I want to do at WrestleMania, or if I want to face someone at WrestleMania, because of what I've achieved in the past and because of who I am, it would probably happen. But I've come to SmackDown, I've come to WWE to do the right thing. There are plenty of full-time superstars that their goal or the thing they got into WWE to do was to compete at WrestleMania, was to be on the card of the biggest show of the year, that being WrestleMania. So he's come to the decision, or he talks about coming to the decision of doing the right thing and stepping aside for this year's WrestleMania. He says it's not a goodbye, it's just see you later, a bit of a sting line there. And you think that's it, well, let's be honest, not for 1 minute did I think John Cena was going to come back to say, see you later. But he teases the crowd, he walks up the ramp, gives the crowd the salute. The crowd, to be fair, the crowd were buying it. The crowd was totally into it. They were just into John Cena. So he's saluting to the crowd at the top of the ramp, and then the lights go out in the way that can only mean one man, and that man, or monster, I guess in this case, is the Fiend. Now, this is where this segment went from like a 6 or a 7 to a 10 for me. It was this camera shot that was just, I mean, phenomenal. Phenomenal. I cannot put it over enough. This was the best camera work in years. Genuinely in years. This is the stuff where we go on about promos being, pre-rehearsed and scripted and all this stuff, but this is where you almost see the positive side of things being so rehearsed and production value, and WWE still is the best production value when it comes to professional wrestling, bar none. That's just what it is. So they have this shot where the lights go off, and then they come back on, and you're assuming to see the Fiend standing behind him or something like that. But there's just a close-up on John Cena's face, and it's just, the camera is just sort of peering over the left shoulder of John Cena. John Cena can feel something. You can tell by the look in his face. It slowly drops as he senses the presence of the Fiend. Now, he can't see him, and the viewer at home can't see him, but you start to feel the presence of the Fiend. And then the camera would slowly pan to Cena's right shoulder, looking over Cena's right shoulder, and then you see the Fiend eerily staring at John Cena at the back of the stage in a sort of horror movie, Halloween, just I can't really describe it. It was just this awesome shot of the Fiend sort of peering over the shoulder like this big villainous horror movie iconic villain. It was just an awesome shot. It immediately, like that, became an iconic shot for me. That's a shot that you're going to play back in 5 years, and people are going to know exactly what that shot was because it was an awesome shot. Then the Fiend, he points at the WrestleMania sign. We'll come back to that. Some people were in uproar that the Fiend was doing that. And then John Cena turns, stares back at the sign, tips his cap, and makes the Mania match official between them. So it's going to be John Cena versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, like we all knew. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this now we've got that segment out of the way. First of all, like I said, the Fiend pointing at the WrestleMania sign. I was pretty shocked about how up in arms social media got with the Fiend pointing at the sign. To be honest, I don't really care. Some people are going, oh, he's a monster, he's all this and that, he shouldn't be pointing at the sign. Does it really matter? Does it really take away anything from his character? He just got speared, jackhammered, and lost in 3 minutes to Goldberg. I don't think him pointing at the WrestleMania sign is going to make a hill of beans difference to his character at this point. And the argument that, oh, he's a monster, so he can't point at the WrestleMania sign, I think it just adds another layer to Bray Wyatt's character. How many times has The Undertaker pointed at the WrestleMania sign? And he, to me, is the same kind of character as Bray Wyatt, this monstrous, evil, different character. I don't see the logic in people saying, oh, Bray Wyatt, you're ruining him because he pointed at the sign. Who cares? Okay, it was about telling the story in the segment. They didn't need to say any words. Now, I complained at the start of SmackDown that the Goldberg versus Roman Reigns segment, where they set up their WrestleMania match, I'll do a video on that, which will drop sometime next week, that segment was like a dollar store version of the Triple H Undertaker segment, setting up their WrestleMania 27 match in Raw in 2011, which of course is an iconic Raw segment. And it felt like the first segment between Goldberg and Reigns was just, they were trying too hard to do that. But this wasn't. This was the opposite. This was almost a great tribute to that segment, but it was a little bit different. It had that little bit of difference in Cena standing at the top of the ramp and Bray Wyatt hovering over his shoulder. It was different, but it did the same thing in by telling the story about the challenge for the WrestleMania match without saying a single word. So I thought it was an awesome segment. The crowd was red hot. John Cena was awesome. The camera work was awesome. And I felt The Fiend really needed a segment like that. After the just absolute shit show that was Super Showdown and that match with Goldberg and the outcome of that match, The Fiend really needed to do something hot on this show, and he certainly did that. So the character does have a pulse. I still wouldn't have done the Super Showdown match the way that they had to do it. You could have found a different way around it. You could have done something different. You didn't need to beat The Fiend in 3 minutes. That still is, for me, irreversible damage, regardless of the result at WrestleMania, regardless of the match that The Fiend is going to be in at WrestleMania. You're always going to have Goldberg beat him in 3 minutes. So hopefully at some point The Fiend gets that victory back, because quite frankly, he desperately needs it. But the pop the Fiend got the pop the Fiend got last night on SmackDown was huge. The Boston crowd was really excited to see him. And I think, if anything, the Super Showdown match almost had the Daniel Bryan effect at WrestleMania 28, in that him losing in that fashion almost made him a huge babyface. So the pop he got last night was massive, and this match could certainly be a show stealer at WrestleMania. People, for the longest time, have criticized John Cena's in-ring work, but you go back and there is a long, long history of great John Cena matches. You can't argue that John Cena can't work in the ring to a high standard, because he absolutely can. That run when he was United States Champion in 2015 and he was doing the US Open Challenge every single week, he was having show-stealing matches against everyone on the roster. And you can go back years and years and years. John Cena has been phenomenal inside the ring. And when John Cena wants to put on a 30-minute, 40-minute match, he does it. Okay, and he can certainly go. That match against CM Punk in 2011, that wasn't CM Punk wrestling a broom in there. That was someone who could go toe-to-toe with him and perform at the highest level. And I have no doubt that however long John Cena's been out of the ring, he's been out of the ring over 12 months at this point, he can certainly jump straight back in and they can have a tremendous, tremendous match at WrestleMania. So I really do think that could be the show-stealer match for WrestleMania, because it's John Cena, it's going to get time, they can both still go. Bray Wyatt can certainly have a show-stealing match when he has the right partner. You've seen that with his matches against Daniel Bryan. And I think John Cena's going to be no different. The crowd's going to be invested in this one, and the crowd isn't going to be totally sure who's going to win. Sure, most people will think Bray Wyatt will win, and I think he will, but you never know. This is John Cena. John Cena hardly ever loses. So there's going to be that investment. The stakes are going to be high. So I really do think this could be a show-stealer match at WrestleMania. And like I said, most importantly, I think Bray Wyatt really needs to win this match, and I think he will. He should have won their original match between Cena and Wyatt at WrestleMania 30. Bray Wyatt was red hot at that point. He just had the tremendous match against Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble, the tremendous feud with Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble, and in the Raws prior to that, when Bryan had falsely joined the Wyatt family, and you had that iconic Raw moment in the steel cage where Daniel Bryan turned on Bray Wyatt. You then had the Wyatt family versus The Shield, and then he came into this John Cena feud prior to WrestleMania 30, and it was a great feud. But the right guy to win at that time was Bray Wyatt. We talked about it before on this channel with WWE not creating new stars, and that's why. In those big matches, especially with Bray Wyatt, it felt like in those big matches Bray Wyatt just didn't win. And that was almost the first case of it. And he had to go away and reinvent himself to try and overcome that, and then he loses to Goldberg. So I do think that Bray Wyatt will get his WrestleMania victory over John Cena. I hope he does anyway. If WWE wants to make that the new stars, they've got to do it. New stars have to win big matches. And I don't think John Cena would come back not to put new guys over, which I think is greatly needed. We don't need part-timers killing off stars like happened at Super Showdown. So I think on the biggest stage of them all, I think John Cena puts Bray Wyatt over, and I think that's because he knows what's good business and he knows what to do at this point in his career to help the business and give back to the business. I think John Cena's not selfish when it comes to that. You look at the guys over the years that Cena has put over, he's put over a pretty, substantial amount of guys. So I think he will do the same for Bray Wyatt this year's WrestleMania. So where does it go in terms of the storyline here between John Cena and Bray Wyatt for WrestleMania this year? I'm not really sure on this one. I don't think there's a lot really left to tell, even though we're still 5 or 6 weeks out from WrestleMania. I mean, there's not a lot to say, really, is there? We know the match is accepted, and there's not really a personal issue. I'm not sure that it really needs to. They can obviously tell the story of the Fiend not forgetting about their past WrestleMania meeting. I think that's a story they could tell there. But I think it's a case of if Cena's going to be on every TV or every SmackDown between now and WrestleMania, I think he'll be on most of the shows. I mean, there's only 5 or 6 TVs between now and WrestleMania, so I don't think there's that much of a time commitment here. But in terms of the storyline, like I said, I think they'll probably touch upon their previous meeting in WrestleMania 30. And that's about it. I think that we'll have a couple of segments with the Fiend attacking John Cena and a couple of segments of Cena fighting back, but there doesn't really need to be any hype put on this match, because the match, having John Cena compete at WrestleMania alone is hype enough. So I don't think there'll be much story to tell, but I'm interested to see what they do. And I'm looking forward to the feud, and I'm looking forward to future segments between the two, and most importantly, of course, I'm looking forward to the match at WrestleMania. But the Fiend needs to win this, and he needs the redemption after that Super Showdown, because if he loses at WrestleMania, I think that's the character done. I really do. You can't have him losing 2 big matches in a row against 2 part-time guys. It it'll kill him. It will kill his character. But of course, it's not what I think. It's all about what you think. So what do you think of the John Cena versus Fiend match scheduled for WrestleMania in Tampa, Florida? Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing daily videos this coming forward, so be sure to subscribe and you won't miss any future video. Thank you very much for listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today. I really appreciate it, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon.